When Jesus talks about knowing the Father, surely he means more than just knowing a list of propositions about God. Can John Vervaeke's 4 ways of knowing give us more insight into the depths of knowing and knowing God? Hello and welcome to this video on dealing with complexity at church. We're exploring frameworks and models and how they apply to the conversations we have. This video looks at John Vervaeke's ways of knowing. This is another set of ideas that I see converging with what we've already laid out. The 4 ways of knowing that John Vervaeke sets out are propositional, procedural, perspectival, and participatory. And we'll unpack these now. We can read or comprehend a set of propositions about things and gain a sort of knowledge about it. We could read about how to ride a bike from a textbook. This sort of knowledge is interested in the truth. We can come to believe the truth about the way you should ride a bike, but clearly there's more to knowing how to ride a bike than just this. There is, of course, the way we go about it. This is procedural knowledge, the kind of knowledge that results in us being able to do something, like ride our bike. And this gives us power. Through the specific actions we've taken, we can achieve reliable results, and we can now go further and faster with our bicycle than we could before. This way of knowing is less interested in the truth about how to ride a bike, more in the results achieved by enacting the correct procedure. But as the famous proverb says, if all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And it's perspectival knowing that senses what is needed when, and what is appropriate in specific situations. If I go to play football, I'll adopt the appropriate clothes, the correct attitude, I'll conform to the rules of the game. I self-identify as an agent in a specific arena. I become optimized to perceive what's going on and how I take part. But if I try to play football whilst riding my bike, I've confused my agency with the arena I'm inhabiting. However, to work in concert with my arena shows that I have a feel for how things fit and work, and I become present in that space. I become optimally positioned to act and react to what's going on. And with this, we get a sense of our possibilities and also the limitations we have within that space. We also get an idea of the perspectives of other people, how they fit and work in these conditions, and we can begin to value these perspectives. This is how we become aware of our environments and we become perceptive of other people's perspectives, which are both key things when it comes to dealing with complexity. Now, participatory knowing has overlaps in many ways to the generative listening we've already explored. It's this two-way relationship with the world. It's a co-creating and a mutual disclosing. We find this in the Bible, the biblical idea of knowing, where Adam knows Eve. But this is more than just sexual. When you're in a relationship with someone, you are both continually opening up to each other to allow for a better knowledge of one another. The more you open up to me, the more I open up to you, and we do this out of love for one another. Another place you might see this happen is within cultures. Groups of people form cultures in which they can be agents, and they are co-created by the individual members of the group in conjunction with the environment that they find themselves in. Cultural moments like rituals afford people ways of expressing themselves. But if you are taken and dropped into a culture you didn't help create, you can suffer from culture shock, since participating in that culture is unknown and foreign to you. Nothing is afforded to you, but everything closes down because it doesn't translate. But when you are optimally attuned to the arena in which you are operating and have helped create, you can achieve a flow state, which is often experienced by athletes and performers, in which your actions in the environment afford you a greater and greater ability to achieve an optimal performance that you can lose yourself in. Now, John Vervaeke also lays these ways of knowing out into 2 modes, the having mode and the being mode, similar to our right and left hemispheres. He points out that advertising often tries to deceive us by showing us images of what we want to be and suggesting we can achieve this through what we can have. You want to be fun and social? Have this beer. You want to be grown up and successful? Buy this car. You want to be confident? Have this shampoo. We can deceive ourselves in this way too when we base our faith on a list of propositions we think we should have, or a set of procedures we think we need to fulfill to be a Christian. But again, going back to Job, who was trying to do this, we know that God actually provides us with a perspective about his character through giving Job an experience to participate in. Similarly, God wanted the children of Israel to come to him on Mount Sinai and participate in an experience with him. But through their fear of the chaos on the mountain, they asked Moses to go instead. And God therefore has to translate that experience into a set of propositions and procedures in the form of the law. Something that was ultimately unsuccessful in optimizing the people into becoming a kingdom of priests. So, propositional knowing is all in the head. Procedural knowing includes the body. Perspectival knowing includes others and our environment. Participatory knowing expands in a way that loses the sense of self to include moments of awe and wonder. And at the heart of this kind of knowing is an agape love. The sort of love that wants to bring things into the world for the sake of that thing being, not just for your own having needs. For example, if you have a child, you don't love it like you love a house or a car. You don't love it because it gives you power. You also don't love it like it's a friend and you get on really well with it. It's actually functionally useless. But you love it because of what, through your love and care, it can become. It's this same transformative love that God shows to Job. It helps Job transcend knowing God as a list of propositions appeased by a list of procedures you have to carry out, to having a relationship with God in which you lose yourself for the sake of what can be co-created through that relationship. Job says, "I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you." And so we can see knowing through partaking in agape provides a way of deeply comprehending that God is love. Now, we often know how to participate in the world and be present to what we experience before we ever know anything about their procedures or the propositions they're based on. This is another indication that the left hemisphere, that having mode, is an emissary to the master of the right hemisphere, the being mode. At church, are we basing our faith more on the propositions we believe to be true about God, or are we basing it on how we participate in the co-creation of the world with God in love? And again, I must stress that both of those things are necessary. It's not a case of either or, but both and balancing it. This is really a key part in understanding complexity. How can we deal with complex situations without first understanding each other's perspectives, how we relate to each other, and participate in the world around us? The next video will look at Jonathan Hyatt's work. This looks at moral foundations. These are the things we might want to be listening to and understand in order to see where other people are coming from and how they participate in the world.